Coming up this week in work.
What if instead of starting January with a bang, we start it with a whimper? We're looking at the radical act of slowing down, the restorative power of seasonal stews, and the surprising reason why a blast of cold air might be exactly what you need to regulate your mood.
Plus, how do you know when it's time for a career pivot? New thinking from Thomas Camoro Presumitz explores spotting that. We'll come back to that name in the main thing. Spotting the difference between restless thinking and real action. Are you planning or are you just procrastinating, perhaps?
And Truth or Lie is back. We are taking apart Blue Monday. Is there a most depressing day of the year, or are January blues a longer problem? We have the evidence and the verdict.
And of course, in the workplace surgery, one business owner is on the hunt for a better way to diagnose company culture. They ask what actually predicts burnout and performance.
This is Truth, Lies and Work, the award-winning podcast where behavioural science meets workplace culture, brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. My name is Leanne. I'm a chartered occupational psychologist.
My name is Al. I'm a business owner.
And together we help you simplify the science of work and build amazing workplace cultures.
You know what's coming next. We'll be right after a quick word from our sponsors. Hello, welcome back. Yes, we have got a cold. We went to the UK.
We got the
lurgy. We've had it twice. Really unfortunate. But I suppose in our little world in Bosnia and Herzegovina,
in our Bosnian bubble,
then we don't really pick it up because we don't see that many people.
And there's less people, isn't there? You don't get crowds of people in the same space so often. But anyway, Happy New Year. I know you're, as a listener, probably well over this on the 13th of January, but it is actually Al and I's first day back at work.
Yes, it is. And it's, I have to be honest, I had to ask Leanne to reteach me how to type this morning because I picked up my keyboard and went, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I spent more time correcting my spelling mistakes, I think, than this morning, sending my emails and replying to my hundreds of notifications.
How many emails did you get?
Right. I hope someone who's cold emailed me isn't listening because I got around about sort of 900.
Yeah.
And I quickly scanned through for those people I knew, replied, and then just selected the rest of them and archived them.
No, you didn't.
I did. I thought it was important. Do you know what? Also, I noticed that we have an autoresponder on our email and we get lots and lots of pictures for guests, probably about 2 a day on average. And looking at all those, the majority of them came back mail unreturned, but it went back to which shows that they're not real people.
Botty.
They're botty.
Yeah, I came back to over 1,000 emails as well.
You didn't.
And goodness knows how many notifications on LinkedIn. I've not even started to tackle LinkedIn yet, and I'm only about a third of the way through my emails. So if you're listening and have got in touch with the LRI or the show over the last 3 weeks, bear with.
Well, you say bear with because Leanne will reply. I won't.
And if it's important, email me.
Okay, it's on to your favourite time of the week, Leanne. It's time for the world famous.
I've missed it. It's been a while.
I know you talked over my intro. Where am I? Because the jingle. Tell me, where's the jingle go, Lee?
At the beginning?
Yeah, we'll put it here.
Cue the jingle.
Okay, my love, what have you seen?
I've got a new word.
Okay, what's the new word?
Wintering.
Oh, I like that. It reminds me of, there's a little bit in Blackadder, I think, where I can't remember who's the main guy. Who's the main? It's Blackadder, isn't it? That's the name.
I've never watched Blackadder.
The clue was in the name of the show, and he said, "Yes, I will." Something about wintering in Montego Bay, which sounded very nice. But so my thought of wintering is that you essentially, very rich and famous people go off and they'll spend winter in a particularly sunny place.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? We used to do that.
We did do that.
We used to do that.
Those people who've been listening, if you've listened to the original podcast, Their Sideways Life, and then you've just migrated across to this one, then you'll know that for about 3 years, we spent 3 months in Thailand and Southeast Asia.
Good times, man.
Anyway, so what does wintering mean in this context, Lee?
It's not that. It's not going off for a winter holiday. It was actually a term coined by Katherine May in her best-selling book called Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times. So basically, it's about embracing the quieter, colder months instead of trying to power through them or kind of like, the January surge. We've got this, woof. Instead, Catherine's like, wintering should be a period of reflection, so a time to slow down, to sleep more, expand your spare time, let yourself rest. This came from her own life being knocked off course by illness and uncertainty, and she began to see winter not as something to endure, but something to lean into. And she puts it, doing these deeply unfashionable things is a radical act now. but it is essential. The book actually came out in 2020, but the idea has regained some momentum given the whole January trends of people resetting, particularly on social media. But in terms of wintering, people are swapping New Year pressure for cold weather rituals such as slower mornings, cozy meals, and gentle movement. Our thoughts?
I like it. But if you could go back, 500 years, when there was no heating or whatever, even probably 200 years, maybe 100 years of no central heating. That's what we did as a people. When it came to winter, we would eat more. We would, the days were shorter, so you'd work, during the day, and then the rest of the time, 3/4 of the day, you'd be snuggle up in bed or something. Probably making babies. Actually, a lot of people. Yeah. You're a lot of people born in the autumn.
Well, September is still the most. The highest month for birth rates.
Is
September,
it? Yeah, so that's where we know what you're doing in wintering, you dirty, dirty people. So I like this. Yeah, enjoy, not endure January. I like that. I think we're doing that. It's a good job this isn't a video podcast, this particular episode, because I'm sitting here with a hat on and dressing gown, and you've got your pajamas on.
Yeah.
And we've got all the heaters on in the house. We live in a summer
really
house.
Cold.
It's really, really cold. We live in a house which is meant for summer, vacationing, and so it's not particularly good for winter. Anyway, why am I about myself again, Lee? I do this often.
You do tend to, my love, but that's okay, because you know what? This podcast is about you. Or at least 50% of it is anyway. So
51.
But yeah, wintering, I actually saw this in the Sunday Times, so it came out over the weekend, and it did actually, the article was quite interesting, and it included some wintering tips from a clinical psychologist called Dr Stephanie Fitzgerald.
Oh, I like that name.
Yeah, it's strong, isn't it? Strong. Stephanie authored The Gifts of Winter, which is a similar themed book released at the end of 2025. Basically, it's a guide to reclaiming our most unappreciated season. I'm not going to lie, I think this is going to be my January read. I think I'm going to get this on Kindle.
Or if you're listening, Ms. Fitzgerald, Dr. Fitzgerald, then send us a copy.
Yeah, that would be very nice as well. But yes, some of the tips that included from Dr. Stephanie was shifting your calendar mindset. So don't see January as a time for big change. Wait until April when there's more daylight and energy.
Yes.
This is something we talked about last year in a hot take with Meenakshi Iyer, who said that she's a coach and said the same, that we're bound to this kind of Western calendar when actually springtime. It's traditionally been much more of a time for change and resetting. Second, get outside, even in the cold. She said that there is quiet growth happening, tree buds shifting light. And of course, there is a science behind it as well, not only in terms of forest bathing or tree hugging, whatever you want to call it. There is something as well in terms of cold exposure. It can boost neurotransmitters and things like serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, all the good, happy hormones that help regulate stress and mood. She also recommends hot seasonal food. You'll like this one, Al. Stews, soups, roasted veg, not just for nutrition, but because they invite slowness and the kitchen becomes a warm, heavenly place to be. Social connection, always important, she mentions as well. And finally, she talks about normalising how we feel. So if we're feeling a bit flat, a bit sad, that's normal at this time of year. The key is not to push those feelings away, but to meet them with kindness for ourselves and in others. And things like, rather than kind of hardcore gym plans, if you're just not feeling it, try some like yoga or Pilates or going for a nice walk with your hound. So that's wintering. I will leave a link to that in the show notes.
I love that. I went for the second of our home walks. We only got back to our home country on Friday, so I went a second home walk. Really enjoyed it. It's about 6k, so it's not a massive walk, but it's still nice. Go out with the dogs. It was 1.5 degrees when I went out this morning. And it was just nice. I came back feeling all warm and
tingly.
Tingly. I'm
100%.
Yes, 100% above 100% above this, 100% for this. That's the word.
Approved.
Stamp. Bosh, bosh, bosh.
What have you seen this week, love?
Okay, so there's a guy called Tomas Kamero Premuzic. Now, I did a little Googling because I thought Premuzic sounds very Croatian. And apparently the name Premuzic does come from Croatian. Kamero comes from the Spanish. And Tomas sounds German. So I should like to meet this person. I suspect they're a blend of very interesting cultures. Anyway, he's a professor at UCL and Columbia. And he's basically asked, or he wrote this article saying how to tell if it's time for a career pivot. Now, that's
pivot.
Apparently, the most difficult scene to film in Friends.
Really?
They said that they took them hours because everyone just kept corpsing. So anyway, if you've not seen Friends, you've no idea what I'm talking about. It felt like the title should be more like why some of us are stuck in careers we picked based on absolutely no evidence whatsoever, but that's probably not something that Fast Company would go for as a title. It's not that snappy. Basically, he's making this point that most people worry about changing careers. Now, we're not talking about changing roles here. So there are a lot of people will change roles, but actually to pivot and just suddenly do a totally new career. You were a corporate accountant and now you've opened a dog trimming studio. It's really, really rare because I think a lot of people worry about these career changes, which is a bit strange because you think about it. When you choose a career, most people just choose something arbitrarily when they leave university or leave school. They just go, right, this is what I'm going to do. And then they don't really change it. Even before AI became the hot topic, then this career predictability, as he calls it, was already crumbling. He said there's globalization, economic shocks, the death of those lovely career ladders where you knew that your parents, if they stuck in a career in 10 years' time, they would be the boss or whatever, or on a better paying job. And of course, we have to manage our own careers now, so we constantly have to update our own skills. We have to absorb all the risk ourselves. And of course, AI did come along. Skills are disappearing, becoming obsolete because AI is doing everything. I saw something today. There's a brand new Claude code. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically, it can access your desktop and you can say, right, go and tidy up my home screen with all the icons that are everywhere. And basically go and move them all into folders and everything. We are getting to scary, scary times. In fact, sorry, I'm confused by where I was looking at on my little notes. Gallup, this is what Gallup, Gallup, roughly 60% of employees feel emotionally detached at work, and only 1 in 4 people strongly believe their job aligns with their strength. That is quite frighteningly. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a big theme at the moment, isn't there, with what's called moral burnout, when our values are misaligned with our job, and that does take a toll in a similar way that burnout does. We get disengaged, we get exhausted, we get cynical. So it makes all the sense. Is there more to this? Because it's something else that's springing to mind, but I don't want to jump in if you've still got more to.
Not really. I'll just summarise. We will leave a link to the article in the show notes. Just sort of summarise it. Basically, the article's saying it's not about changing roles. It's a proper career pivot. He's saying it's very, very rare, and most people only do a career pivot when they're really, really miserable. They do come up with this thing economists are now calling the big stay, where people have gone from job hopping, one of our previous word of the week, to job hugging, where they're staying stuck rather than settled. They're thinking about changing careers, but behaviorally, they're frozen. What were you going to say then? It sounded like you've got a really good point here.
I think with the big stay or job hugging, as it's also called, it's worth bearing in mind as a business owner or leader. Just because you've seen a drop in attrition, so people leaving your business, doesn't mean that they're engaged. It just might mean that they're too scared to leave right now financially because of the way the economy is. So don't mistake low retention for engagement. The other thing as well, do you remember we covered it? I don't know when, maybe 12 weeks ago. And it was about a study that looked into career pivots and what are the biggest predictors of people actually successfully doing it. And it was actually taking action, so not procrastinating and actually starting to do something about it. And the other big factor, I think, as well, was having a coach, having someone there to kind of talk you through it and work with you. But yeah, and I think a big thing as well, isn't it, is having that clear idea of what you want to do. And I think that's where the value of a coach can be. And I think where a lot of people get frozen is they know that they're not happy, but they don't know exactly what will make them happy or fulfilled or give them purpose in their work. So I think having somebody to talk you through this can be quite helpful. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think I'm a big fan of the action thing. I've career pivoted many times. I never thought I'd be a podcaster. I started off wanting to work on a farm, and I did. And then I went into sales, then I went to pub management, and then I started a beer business. And then, I've just pivoted lots of times. And I think the key, I'm not saying necessarily that I'm doing the most successful thing, but what I found quite good was just, like you say, taking action and going, right, I'm going to try this as kind of like a side hustle for a little bit. So rather than saying, right, okay, I'm an accountant and I would love to be a goose farmer, then don't just go, right, I'm going to hand my notes in and go and buy a load of geese. Perhaps go and work on a goose farm on the weekend, or get some geese, just a few geese to start off with.
Yeah, get goosing.
Spat on the microphone. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I really genuinely did spit on the microphone. That's grim.
I remembered actually what that other main bit of that study was.
Carry on.
It was about where it's like your temporal mind, where you spend most of your time. Do you remember? It's like past, present or future. Mm-hmm. And the people that had kind of an equal spread across 3 were much more likely to make a successful career pivot. If we get too stuck in the past or too stuck in the future, then it can make us freeze in the moment. So practicing things like understanding where you're stuck, practicing things like reflective practice or mindfulness or positive psychology could be really useful. It's as much as a mindset, isn't it, as it is a practical career pivot.
It is. And I think also a key thing if you are looking to pivot is that think about your fear of what people will say about you. Because I think that was what was kind of suggested in this article was essentially a lot of people worried that if I did go and become a goose farmer, what would people think? Would my status go down? Would my family hate it? Would people laugh at me for leaving a great job to go and make geese go goosing in their spare time? So and if that is the case, look, nobody's thinking about you really. They're too busy thinking about themselves. So my suggestion is just do it. Just enjoy it. Just live your life. Don't get to 65 and go, I really wish that I'd been a pilot. Maybe pilot's a bad example, but I really wish I'd raised geese.
Yeah.
Moving on.
You go goose.
You go goose.
You've got this.
Yes, you got this, gooser. Right. What else have you seen, my love?
Mattel has launched its first autistic Barbie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you... Barbie's very much a visual thing, isn't it? So how do they make it autistic?
Well, I shall tell you.
Yes,
I shall tell you. So yeah, it was an announcement on Mattel's corporate website, picked up by a lot of different news outlets. I actually saw it in The Guardian and then went back to Mattel to see what the crack was. So yeah, the company this week has launched its first ever autistic Barbie. Apparently it's a new addition to their Barbie fashionista range.
Right.
Don't know what that is. Developed over an 18-month period in partnership, and I think this is important, with the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, which is a disability rights organisation run by and for autistic people. Mattel says that the aim is pretty simple: representation through play. So the idea is that the more children who are able to see themselves reflected in the toys they grow up with, that helps all children get used to seeing difference as being a normal part of the world around them. So yeah, in terms of how they did this, so again, I found it really interesting. So working closely with ASAM, which was the charity I mentioned, Mattel's design team focused on representing some common autistic experiences while being clear that autism is different for everyone and not always visible. So for example, the doll's eyes gaze in a slightly angled way, reflecting how some autistic people avoid direct eye contact. She also comes with a pink finger clip fidget spinner.
Difficult to say.
Yeah, that actually spins. Noise-cancelling headphones designed to reduce sensory overload, and a tablet showing symbol-based augmentative and alternative communication apps, which many autistic people use to support everyday communication. Even the clothing, Al, was carefully considered. So the doll wears a loose-fitting purple A-line dress designed to minimise fabric-to-skin contact, along with flat shoes to support comfort and ease of movement. There is, of course, some comment from Mattel. Jamie Sigelman, I believe that's how you say her name, who has the coolest and possibly creepiest job title in the world, Al. Would you like to guess Jamie's job title?
Is it painting the faces on the Barbies?
Close.
Go on.
She's global head of dolls.
Oh, God, can you... Was it you and I went to look at a house once and there was just an entire room of dolls?
Yeah.
It's just not cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Anyway,
Nothing scarier than a doll.
Yeah, I totally agree. Agree. They look at you.
Yeah. Anyway, Jamie says, the Autistic Barbie helps expand what inclusion looks like in the toy aisle and beyond, adding that every child deserves to see themselves represented in Barbie. And that was a whole thing around the theme as well, wasn't it? Kind of representation. From ASAN's side, this is the charity, Executive Director Colin Killick has said the doll offers an authentic and joyful representation of autistic people, including the tools that help support independence in daily life. The launch also featured collaboration with autistic advocates, creatives and designers, including entrepreneur Madison Maria, who is also a cast member on season 3 of Netflix's Love on the Spectrum. Have you come across this show? Very lovely show. She said the doll made her feel truly seen and heard. So Mattel says it has linked the release to its ongoing research with Cardiff University, which has been running since 2020. The research suggests doll play activates areas of children's brains linked to empathy and social processing, with more recent findings indicating this may also support children who display neurodivergent traits. Al, thoughts?
Interesting. Were you a Barbie girl in a Barbie world?
Do you know what? I was a Cindy girl.
My sisters were Cindy.
Really?
Yeah, I think because they were cheaper.
Yeah, I always thought that, I always thought that I was the Cindy girl, but I think it must have come from my mum or dad or something.
Right.
Because I just had this belief as like a 3 or 4 year old that Barbies were a bit snobby.
Right.
Whereas Cindy's were a bit more down to earth and cool.
Did you ever take your Cindy and go and find one of your friends, perhaps Chezzy, with a Barbie and have a fight and see who
No, I didn't
won?
meet Francesca until I was in high school, so we're kind of past doll stage then.
Fair enough, thank you.
No, I was a solo doll player. Says a lot about my childhood, really. Anyway, what do you think? It's not about me.
I think at first I was like, is this another one of those like weird things that corporates do? But the fact that they've brought someone on, the Asan that they were talking about there, who know what they're talking about, is cool. Representation, isn't it? Like I see a lot more stuff recently. The BBC, I think a lot of people are calling the BBC and Channel 4 as very woke for including people with disabilities in as actresses and actors. And sorry, I should just say actor, shouldn't I? I shouldn't say actress. Sorry. But a lot of people are saying, look, I would really liked that I was represented in that particular program. There's also regional accents in the UK. There's so many more regional accents, and so it's nice that someone from Sunderland who's got a very strong accent perhaps can go, yeah, I could still be on telly. Whereas 30 years ago, you'd only hear people from the home counties. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. I don't think dolls in general are a good idea. They freak me the out, but I think it's a really good idea.
I also think it's a really good idea, and you nailed it out. It's about representation, and we know this from decades of developmental research. Children form these stereotypes around gender, around race, around ethnicity, around socioeconomic status really early. Like we're talking like 3 to 6 years old. Like it's super, super early. And there's so many studies showing, particularly around gender, young girls will start associating things like computers and engineering and problem solving with boys at a very young age. And even if they enjoy those activities, they do start thinking this isn't really for people like me, and their confidence starts to drop. And similarly in terms of the world of work, and you might be thinking at this point, what's Barbie got to do with the world of work? And again, what's about representation? If we think about autism, autistic adults today often talk about feeling pressured to mask their behaviours, their preferences, to tone themselves down or to hide the support that actually helps them function. So things like headphones or fidget tools or different ways of communicating. So this type of representation at an early age now is going to be so important for when these children grow up and enter the workforce, and just those whole social norms shifting. And it has to start with children. And that's the thing, I think, when we think about EDI, it's not just an organisational problem, it's a societal problem. And it does start with young children in education. And then we also know as well, we talked recently about the Gen Alpha survey and how 25% recognise themselves as neurodivergent, know somebody who's neurodivergent, expect there to be recognition and support for people who are neurodiverse in organisations. So it's very, very topical. I can see a lot of people cringing at this and calling it woke nonsense. I disagree. I think it's representation in action. I think it's quite a nice little story, actually.
Yeah, I do too.
If you're interested in Autistic Barbie, it is available now wherever people buy their Barbies from. Also, a nice
shop near you.
Doll shop near you. Also, in nice detail, Mattel says it will donate more than 1,000 autistic Barbies to specialist paediatric hospitals in the US, which I thought was quite nice as well.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so we're going to take a short break, and after this, we've got Truth or Lie. If you've not heard this before, basically, it's where I put a question to Leanne and say, is this a truth or is it a lie? We'll see you in a second. Welcome back. It is time for Truth or Lie. This is the part of the show.
I feel like Truth or Lie needs its own jingle.
Yeah.
Or like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire mood kind of boom.
Yeah, it should
perfect. Just loop that.
Yes, I will do. The fact is, though, actually, I'm currently wintering, so I don't have time to put together a jingle for this particular. But what I will do is come spring.
I can respect that.
Yes, I will come up with one. Anyway, so the truth or lie is basically where I ask Leanne, is this a truth or is this a lie? I think today's truth or lie is, well, it's something you've probably heard for years. Every January you'll hear this. All the brands talk about it. Mental health charities do mention it. News outlets have loads of headlines around it. Apparently, there is a single day in January that's the most depressing day of the year. It's called Blue Monday. I believe it's about the 16th, 17th, is it?
Yeah, I think it's technically like the third Monday in January, so it'll be next Monday, which is the 19th, I think.
Yeah, I got told it was because that's when the credit card drops from Christmas. But so, Lee, is it true? There is such a thing as Blue Monday, but is it just something that newspapers have made up, or is there really a blue, like the most depressing day of the year?
I mean, it feels right, doesn't it? The third week in January being just the worst.
Yes.
Because January is so dark and the weather is grim and it's really cold and Christmas is over and you're all a bit tubbier than you used to be. And the credit card bill lands. New Year motivation is already kind of dropped off. So it makes sense. So when someone says there is a specific reason this Monday is just rubbish, it sounds completely plausible.
Yeah.
In terms of where it came from, it was actually popularized by a psychologist back in 2005 called Cliff Arnold, working with a travel company. He even produced a formula
right,
combining things like weather, debt, time since Christmas, broken resolutions, motivation, and just that nagging feeling that you should be doing something with your life by now.
Cliff didn't know anything about wintering, did he?
No, Cliff did not lean into wintering. But yeah, it looked very scientific. The equation actually looks really like mathematical.
Equationally.
Yeah. So yeah, understandably, the idea spread very, very quickly. So that's where it comes from. But in terms of is it true or not, should we start with the case 4, Al?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
the positive.
I think it is true.
Is that your prediction?
This is just my thought. Yes, but it's my prediction. Because, you do get to that third Monday and you're like, which is why we took a week off last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Start with the Coast 4. Yes.
So we've
not podcasted for 4 weeks.
So I think the first thing is there is lots of research that suggests that the foundations of Blue Monday are real.
Yeah.
The question is whether they actually combine to make one truly uniquely awful day.
Which you can see Leanne's face because you were like truly
just
uniquely awful.
So I guess the first area of research to look at is around light and mood, seasonal affective disorder. I know you've heard of this, Al. SAD, which is just the perfect acronym. Thank you. So one large body of research has looked at how reduced daylight affects mood, and it consistently has been shown that lower winter light exposure is associated with reduced energy, lower mood, and higher depressive symptoms. And more than that, meta-analysis of light therapy trials, that's when we get the data of lots of studies and analyze them together with one question in mind, have shown that increasing light exposure can significantly reduce symptoms, which tells us that the reverse is also true, that less light makes things harder. January darkness does affect how people feel. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, you mentioned it, Al, financial stress. That does spike over Christmas. There are strong links to this as well, linking debt to mental health. So there's a longitudinal study. What does that mean, Al?
Means over a long period of time?
Yes, it does. Following over 8,000 adults, it examined unsecured debts, so things like credit cards and loans, and found higher debt levels were associated with higher depressive symptoms, even after accounting for income. The UK service data backs this up too. January consistently shows spikes in people seeking debt advice, which again fits that post-Christmas financial hangover. Next, post-holiday emotional dip. So several psychiatric and public health studies have looked at hospital admissions and crisis presentations around Christmas. So this is significant mental health episodes. One systematic review found that admissions often drop during the Christmas period itself and then rebound afterwards. So the interpretation is basically that people hold things together over the holidays, then feel the emotional drop once normal life resumes. So it's kind of a January crash. It's something that clinicians see repeatedly.
Kick those problems down the road. Yeah.
Indeed, yeah. And then there's also some research that Mondays do hit differently. And this is actually a really serious data point. So trigger warning, I'm going to talk about suicide now. A large population study analysed over 377,000 deaths in South Korea across an 18-year period, comparing suicide deaths with accidental deaths to control for general weekday patterns. The researchers found that suicide risk was highest on Mondays and then gradually declined across the week. The effect was strongest among people in their teens and 20s, where the probability of suicide on a Monday rose by about 10% higher than that on a Sunday. As age increased, the day of the week effect became smaller, but it didn't vanish. So the authors describe this as evidence of a real Blue Monday effect, particularly linked to the pressure of the week starting again. This doesn't mean one specific Monday in January, but it just shows that Mondays, and especially in winter, can carry real psychological risk for some groups.
So this sounds like, basically at this point, I'm like, yes, Blue Monday exists. Mm-hmm. You've given me every piece of evidence that Blue Monday exists. So is there a case against?
There is a case for against. So first, the original Blue Monday formula itself, that equation, it doesn't really hold up scientifically.
Right.
To be fair, even the original psychologist at Cliff acknowledged that it was never meant to be a precise mathematical equation. It was actually for an advertising campaign for a travel holiday when you should book your winter break or book your summer break during winter. But of course, critics have pointed out that the variables weren't measured in consistent or meaningful ways, and that changing one thing can basically change the outputs of everything. You're trying to measure weather and what else was in there? Debt, distance from Christmas.
I feel sorry for Cliff, because Cliff's obviously been brought on as a marketing company to say, right, make this work for us. And he's gone, yeah, sure, there you go, that'll be fine. And then all the nerds have jumped in and gone, that's not quite right. You haven't got the quotient for rainfall in the... Yeah.
Exactly, Al. You can always trust us scientists to just ruin something that's really catchy.
Ruin our fun.
Second, if we look at daily mood tracking studies, they don't really support a dramatic crash on a Monday. So one well-known set of studies followed people for months, asking them to basically record their mood day by day. When researchers looked at the data, not people's actually beliefs, so actually how they kind of measured mood rather than people's belief of their mood, they found that mood on Mondays wasn't significantly worse than Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday. What did stand out though was weekends. So people generally reported better mood on Saturdays and Sundays. So Monday feels bad, partly because it's compared to something better, not because it's uniquely terrible. It's just followed a high. And finally, Blue Monday spread because it was useful rather than necessarily being accurate. So the idea, as I said, didn't emerge from peer-reviewed research. It emerged from an advertising campaign. Over time, it has been reused by brands, campaigns, well-meaning mental health organisations, because it creates that hook. It's a moment to talk about well-being. So is it a truth or is it a lie? Blue Monday, as a specific date that is objectively more depressing than any other day of the year, that is a lie.
Right.
But the factors behind it in terms of darkness, money stress, post-holiday, low motivation, what we heard about suicide trends when it comes to Mondays, they are all real and well supported by psychological data. So I guess the only mistake is pretending that they peak neatly on one Monday. I'm here for Blue Monday, and I'll tell you for why. It starts a conversation going at a time of year where there are genuine reasons why we are all struggling more in terms of mood, in terms of financial pressures, in terms of a whole host of things. So I think as a way of recognizing and starting a conversation that January is a high-risk period for mental health and well-being, and that support needs to last throughout January and beyond is really important and really effective. So if that is what is grabbing the headlines that gets important conversations going, I am here for it. But Blue Monday as a specific day is a lie.
Also, from a psychological point of view, you can kind of say, well, all right, we'll have that day as our most depressing day. So it allows you almost, when you go through January, going, right, okay, yep, Blue Monday's coming up. Okay, yep, that's going to be really depressing. And then when you come to like Yellow Tuesday, the one after it, the Tuesday after it, you might go, Oh, thank God that's over. So you almost feel like, okay, everything's done now. You'll still be a little bit down because January is usually a little bit dull, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at that point, I just feel like it's a good point to mark in the calendar and go, right, that's your inflection point. From that point forward, you can be happier, allowing yourself to be happier.
Absolutely. A temporal landmark, psychologists would call it.
Just real quick, if someone is an employer or a manager, should they be thinking about this in terms of Blue Monday? Should they be thinking, I need to do something about that? Or is that a little bit like cheesy if they go, oh, let's have a Blue Monday, like anti-Blue Monday party or something?
I think if you wanted to use Blue Monday as an awareness-raising day around mental health and well-being, it can serve as a useful landmark, can't it? I think it's important for any business owner and leader knowing that this is going to affect you and it's going to affect your team, and finding things throughout the day that might help. So things that we heard around, nurturing those positive relationships at work is going to be especially important now. Having regular check-ins with team members to see how they're doing is going to be really important. And things as well, like encouraging your people to go outside during the day. We don't get many hours of sunlight in the Northern Hemisphere in winter. So encourage your people to go out for lunch, to go for a walk. Organise that as a team thing to do. Light exposure is really important. Or go back to the wintering, conversations around that, around self-care, around different exercises to embrace. I think there's things to be aware of and things to be learnt from this, and certainly things you can apply in an organisation that's going to have a positive impact on you and your team. But again, I think if Blue Monday serves as the day for this kind of awareness-raising event, cool, but it has to be an all-month and really, let's be honest, an all-year-round affair.
Okay, well, thank you, Leanne. If you have an idea for truth or lie, then let us know. All the details are in the show notes, and you probably guess our email addresses anyway. Okay, so on to the world-famous weekly workplace surgery, where I put your questions to Leanne. Lee, are you ready for question number 1?
I am ready. You reminded me of the Gladiators then. Are you ready?
Contenders on my first whistle. That's proper old school. Yes, and I apologise to anyone who's from Scottish descent for my terrible accent there.
Al is from Scottish descent.
I am of Scottish descent, and I cannot do for the life of me. My brother does an amazing Scottish accent. He definitely can take the mickey out of my mother, who's got a Scottish accent.
She doesn't like that.
She does not like that. Okay, so this question is about needing a better way to diagnose a company culture. Right up your street, Lee. We are planning an organisational culture diagnostic for our company next quarter. We've done standard satisfaction surveys before, but they always feel superficial and don't seem to predict actual burnout or morale shifts. As experts, what actually works in a culture diagnostic? Lee, what are your thoughts?
My concern is we're talking about a few different things here.
Right, okay.
So you're saying that you want a culture diagnostic to predict burnout, which is an area of well-being, or morale, which is more associated with employee engagement, right. And culture, well-being, and employee engagement are 3 very distinct areas of organizational psychology. And this is the problem, right? Because we talk about this stuff in ways that is either really complicated and nobody understands it, including myself when I read some journals, or in a way that is so generalized and simplified that we start to kind of cross over what all these terms are and what they all mean. So I think in terms of, to answer your first question, if you are looking for an organizational culture diagnostic, there are lots of different things out there. And this isn't an area in terms of culture diagnostic that I am what I'd call myself an expert in. I have run them, and I have helped clients understand the culture that they've got, and there are various ways to do this. My preferred method is following an audit by a psychologist called Tester, which basically has 5 different stages to it. So it's about identifying the vision and mission of your organization. It's about collecting a narrative of the desired culture. So from a leadership team, what do we want culture to look like, and how is that going to further our strategy? You then need to look at how we select an audit team. We then collect the data in various different ways. That will include interviews and surveys and observations and document audits. And then we interpret that in terms of the reporting of it. The thing is, though, when we actually look at culture in terms of the kind of aspects of it from a psychological and organizational perspective, there's lots of different things to look at. So a full-on culture audit is detailed. It's taking a couple of months at least, because we're looking at things like the the general environment. So what is actually the physical aspect of the organisation? Is it an office? What's the layout? What's the design? What are the customs and norms of the culture? So the behaviours and expectations of the place. We look at events, what are celebrated in and how and why. We look at rules and policies. How are people disciplined? We look at accountability. We look at leadership behaviour. We look at reward and recognition, training and development, communication. There are so many different aspects in terms of a full-on culture audit. It's huge. So I guess my question at this point is, do you want a culture audit? Is that what you're trying to achieve here? Typically, culture audits are great if the organisation is very toxic. We're having lots of problems in terms of behaviour, lots of problems in terms of policy or even law breaking, or just a fundamental thing that the current culture of your organisation isn't furthering the mission of your business. So it might feel very, very interdependent, very friendly, very helpful, when actually you want a culture that is much more independent, results-based. That, in those scenarios, a culture audit can be really, really helpful. What you've mentioned, though, in terms of predicting burnout, predicting morale shifts, you're not going to find that in a culture audit. You're going to find that in either something that looks at organizational well-being or employee engagement. So I would suggest you start with looking at what we call psychosocial risk factors within an organization. So basically, what are the aspects of the organization in terms of relationships, in terms of how change is managed, in terms of how clear people are over what their role is and how that fits in with the organization, and measuring those aspects to then be able to predict burnout or shifts in morale. You can either use something like the HSE Management Standards Survey, which is a completely free tool, or you're looking for a provider who specializes in predictive models of engagement. That's not Gallup. That's not AMP, whatever it is. It's not Office Vibe. That is not what they do. They're the standard satisfaction surveys that you've used before, to use your words. An actual predictive model of engagement is going to come through a psychologist, such as the work we do at Oblong, or there are other organisations out there as well. Or you can do it yourself using the HSE Management Standards Survey. So a long answer there, but I think an important one that I want to kind of point out is there is a difference, a psychological research data difference between culture, employee engagement and well-being. So in terms of what you want to achieve, we need to actually understand what that is before we can recommend a tool. And this is a skip that a lot of organisations skip, is they'll go straight to the tool because they've heard it's good without actually starting to think about what it is they want to achieve. So my thought is, you don't want a culture diagnostic tool. You want a employee engagement wellbeing tool.
Interesting. I think a lot of people who say they want to fix their culture, it's kind of comes from either just the founder sitting there over Christmas going, oh, we need to get a better culture, or them worrying about what other people think of the culture, when in actual fact, the culture's the culture. You've always said the culture, what's your definition of a culture? It's really snappy and cool.
From John Amici, yeah. Culture is defined by the worst behaviours tolerated.
And that's it. And so you don't really say, this is the culture and this is defining the culture. You just try and make the worst behaviours better and better. I mean, am I making any sense there?
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely can design and influence culture, but it's a very hard and complex and long-term and ongoing thing. If you wanted to learn more about that, I would definitely recommend that you follow Paula Brockwell on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
Her organisation, she's an occupational psychologist, her organisation does specialise in culture and culture audits, and she does loads of different free webinars and masterclasses on it. So definitely check that out if you are specifically interested in culture.
Love that. Okay, question number 2. How do I build a high-performance team that doesn't settle for second best? Hi, Leanne. What is the best way you've actually found to achieve high performance out of your team? Not just mediocre, I mean people who strive to be the best and won't settle for second. Is it a matter of just hiring? I'm smiling. Is it a matter of just hiring the right high performers, or are there proven strategies to build this culture from within? Lee, I'm going to put a pound in you and let's see what happens.
As we've just heard, there is a way to build this culture from within. If you want a more results-driven culture, interdependent culture, then yes, there are ways to do it. In terms of if you want to do this through recruitment, as you've suggested, yeah. But I think do you know what? This actually starts with you. If you want to build a high-performance team, that starts with understanding exactly what that means to you and exactly why that's important for your business and exactly what that needs to achieve and exactly how you're going to reward those people for it. So in terms of, if we think about, as I said, those kind of psychosocial risk factors that are in organizations or the pillars of culture that we use at Oblong, the first three are reason, role, and recognition. And whilst there is in our model, no one is more important than the other and there's no order to them, these are the three that I think kind of serve as your foundation in terms of building any type of team, because high performance is kind of a catch-all term, isn't it? High performance could mean highest revenue. High performance could be getting the most people back into work. High performance could be curing diseases, Mm-hmm. So I think the first thing is around reason. So what is the purpose of your organization? What is it trying to achieve? What values do you need in your organization that are aligned with that mission and reflect your values as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a leader? And then understanding in terms of high performance, everything you're going to need to do in terms of motivating these people is going to have to link back to that reason. And if there is ever dissonance or a mismatch between what you're saying and what this mission is, or what your organization is doing and what this mission is, that's going to serve as a demotivator and that's going to drop performance. Second, equally important is role. And that is making sure that your business is designed in a way that has the roles it needs to deliver this mission. So what does the individual job function do? How does that contribute? How is that performance measured? What type of person do you need to fulfill this job description in terms of their knowledge, skills, and abilities? That is, of course, going to depend on job analysis, and it all needs to link to this reason in terms of the mission of the organization and the values that are going to facilitate that. And then it comes down to recognition, which will also include pay and benefits. If you want to work people hard, I'm getting the sense that this is like a sales type organization. Are you?
Yeah, well,
it's about
Street,
revenue, profit. These people burn bright, but not for very long. So you're looking at probably an average tenure of 18 months to 2 years max. You're talking paying these people well in terms of performance-based pay. It's going to be high. We're talking like top sales organizations, recruitment consultant type organizations where they can make bank, as the kids would say, in 2 to 3 years and then probably move on to something else. Of course, you're going to get the people who will thrive in that environment and stay and will actually more than likely move into management positions where the day-to-day pressure hustle isn't the same. But yeah, they're there. So I think that's another key thing as well as recognition. And that I alluded to as well also includes career development. Are you going to develop these people? Is there a space for them in the organization long term? Or is it really a case of you're going to come into my organization, you're going to work really hard, I'm going to pay you really freaking well, and I'm going to wave you off with a wave and a smile after 2 years. So those are the things I think about: reason, role, and recognition. And they're the things that you need to sit down and decide exactly what that looks like before you even think about hiring a team member.
Lovely, lovely. If you want to learn more about the RX7, which those three are are 3 of the 7 R's that Leanne's developed, then just check out the show notes. You can actually book a call with Leanne and she'll talk you all the way through it. She loves talking about it. Okay, question number 3 is about work-life balance. So this person says, my staff says we don't prioritize it, but my policies say we do. I'm a business owner with a team of 10. I genuinely care about work-life balance, and I thought we were doing everything right. We have an 8:30 to 4:30 schedule, paid lunch, generous PTO, which is personal time off, is it?
Paid time off,
time off, and summer Fridays. More importantly, I have a strict rule. Leadership does not communicate with staff after hours, so no late-night emails, no weekend texts. We keep work on work channels. Apparently, this person says, I even do quarterly one-to-ones specifically to check on workload and capacity. And yet, in our last anonymous survey, several employees rated work-life balance as a low priority at our company. They didn't leave comments, just a low score. I am lost. What am I missing? This is a tough one, Lee.
It is. The great thing about running surveys is you get feedback like this that people might not feel able to share with you confidently in that quarterly one-to-one. The thing that a lot of organizations maybe don't know or the bit that they are missing is that a survey is really just one part of gathering employee feedback, and it's not enough on its own. One thing that I always do with clients after we run a survey is then run or even before the survey, depending on what makes sense, run focus groups. So if we do it after the survey is in this situation, I would maybe get together. I mean, you've got 10, so I'd probably get them all together at once, or maybe 2 groups of 5, and go, right, these are some of the headline results from the survey. Let's just have a chat about them. Let's talk them through. What does this mean? What's behind it? Lots of kind of nice coaching questions. It's going to support discussion around why people might think that work-life balance isn't a priority. I don't know the answer. You're going to have to ask your staff, but I will take a stab at why I think people might be suggesting that work-life balance isn't great right now. Your heart is in the right place. You've got policies there that yes, we know are best practice. We know are typically very good for helping people manage their work and life. The thing that I say red flags, you have a fixed scheduled 8:30 to 4:30. You have a strict rule that leadership does not communicate with staff after hours. That's great, but what about people who maybe have caring responsibilities and need that time in the evenings to read or respond to emails? Or the people that would actually prefer a 11 to 7 schedule because they get to do the school drop-off and then somebody else will do the school pick-up. Individualization is such an important aspect of designing any kind of work-life balance policy. So really, I think these are going to have to be the questions as well in terms of what isn't working, what is too rigid, even though it's been set with the best of intentions, is just too rigid and is actually making it harder for people to integrate work and life. The final thing I would say with this as well is it's about understanding, as you do, that it is much about organizational structures supporting work-life balance. So as you say, some kind of email policy, but also things like how do you help people to switch off from work? How do you promote the types of behaviors that will facilitate this transition, whether it be if they work from home, taking a 10-minute walk after work, so it feels like there is a segregation between work and life in that day. It can also typically with these things be around workload, but in terms of the resources you have to do it. So if you've got clunky policies, clunky technology, that's going to add to it, and that's going to add as well to somebody's sense of a lack of work-life balance. Sometimes what we believe the problem is, it isn't. So it might be that work-life balance is actually fine, but it's the resources that are clunky that are causing people the stress in their work life that spills over into their life, and that's why they think they have a poor work-life balance. So it really is well in these types of feedback scenarios, making sure you're measuring everything and actually pinning down where the issue is, which is again why it's a good reason to include a psychologist, because they're going to ask the right questions that are going to pinpoint the exact issue, and following up the focus groups with any areas that you just need to gather more insights for.
If you have a question that you'd like me to put to Leanne, well, you do have a question, I'm sure, but if you want to be anonymous, that's absolutely fine. Check out show notes. You can get in touch with us and I'll put your question to Leanne. Lee, I think that's all for now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. We'll be back on Thursday with a brand new expert interview. We're going to be joined by someone really cool, Beth Sherman. She is a comedian and 7 times Emmy award-winning writer.
You will, she's written, yes, you will have definitely seen the shows that she's written for David Letterman. She's written speeches for Tom Hanks,
the
Meryl
Academy
Streep,
Awards.
The Academy Awards, yep. So you definitely will have heard something which she said.
Yeah, she'll be here to share how she uses humour to build trust, rapport, and confident decision-making. You really don't want to miss that one.
Now, a little bit of a light-hearted approach for you during what, as we've found out, could be a difficult time of year, because Thursday is just a few days away from this fictional Blue Monday. If you are struggling, though, at the moment, and you know someone who is, then we left a list of mental health resources for you in the show notes. I think they're always in every show note. So as much as we take the mickey out of Blue Monday, if things are a bit tough at the moment, then just check out those show notes. Yeah,
absolutely. And you'll also find there links to us on LinkedIn, Instagram, our website, and how to get in touch with the show.
Right, we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.